me to keep talking about the same thing, Casanova and thinking about it, I love you, and baby, I love you, and baby, hold on to me, and baby, I'm ready to give you a same old story.
Gerald Levert, a famous singer, passed away 18 years ago recently. His family confirmed some rumors about his death.
The reason Gerald Levert and I never got married is because he died. He died, and that's what he did. He left me here to fend for myself and deal with this life alone.
What really happened that day? Let's take a closer look at what the family has revealed.
Though I probably had a more blessed upbringing because of my father's success, of being an OJ and having a, nice.
Before we dive into what the family revealed, it's important to understand his early life because that shaped who he became later on. Born on July 13th, 1966, in Cleveland, Ohio. He had one brother, Shawn Levert, who was born in 1968. Gerald grew up in a suburb of Cleveland called Shaker Heights, in a family that was deeply involved in music. Gerald's father, Eddie Levert, was the lead singer of the OJs, a famous R&B group. The OJs played a huge role in creating the Philadelphia soul sound in the 1970s and became internationally known for their music. On the other hand, Gerald's mother, Martha Levert, was a housewife. She took care of Gerald and Shawn by herself most of the time, as their father was often away on tour. Even though Eddie wasn't home much, he still taught his sons the importance of discipline, something that would be very helpful later in life. Growing up in a home where music was always playing, it was clear that Gerald was destined to be a part of the music world. He was surrounded by legendary musicians and learned a lot about how the music business worked from a young age. His father's influence was huge, and both Gerald and Shawn were inspired to follow in his footsteps. They often sang in church and school, and everyone around them could see that Gerald had a natural talent for singing. By the time Gerald and Shawn were teenagers, they were serious about music. Their father would take them to recording studios and concerts, where they got to watch how songs were made and how performers put on great shows. Through these experiences, Gerald learned not only about singing, but also about the behind-the-scenes work that goes into making music and performing for a crowd. Watching his father helped him understand both the good and the tough parts of being a professional musician. Aside from his father's influence, Gerald was also inspired by other famous musicians from the 1970s and 1980s, like Marvin Gaye, Stevie Wonder, and Teddy Pendergrass. These artists inspired Gerald with their powerful voices and the emotions they could express through their songs. He later said that these musicians had a big impact on his own singing style, which mixed soulful emotion with the smooth sounds of R&B.
I want to touch other parts of people's hearts, man. It's deeper than just that.
Even as a young boy, Gerald knew he wanted to stand out in the music world. While his father's fame helped open doors for him, Gerald didn't want to just be known as Eddie Levert's son. He wanted to make a name for himself. His drive to succeed and be the best started showing when he was a teenager. He and Shawn began writing their own songs and experimenting with music. Their mother, Martha, was also a big support during these early years, helping keep them grounded despite the craziness of the music industry. By the time Gerald was in his late teens, he teamed up with his brother Shawn and childhood friend Mark Gordon to form a group called Levert in 1983. This was the first big step in his music career. Even though he carried the legacy of his famous father, Gerald quickly showed that he had his own talent. In 1985, Levert released their first album called I Get Hot. The album didn't make a big splash in the charts, but it helped the group begin to build a fan base. The title track, I Get Hot, caught some attention, but it was their next albums that really pushed them into the spotlight. Their second album, Bloodline, came out in 1986. One of the songs from this album, Goes My Mind, became popular, but it was their third album, The Big Throwdown, 1987, that really made Levert famous. The hit song Casanova from this album reached number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100 and did well on the charts in the UK. Casanova became a huge success because it had a catchy melody, smooth vocals, and could appeal to both R&B lovers and pop music fans. This was a big deal at the time because few R&B groups were able to reach such a wide audience. Thanks to Casanova, Levert became well known in the R&B world, and Gerald's powerful voice became one of the most recognized in the industry. The success of this song also helped the group get on TV and radio stations, bringing them even more attention. Levert kept going strong with their next album, Just Coolin', in 1988. This album produced another hit called Addicted to You, which further solidified the group's place in the R&B world. The 1980s were a time of change in R&B music, with more use of synthesizers and drum machines in production. But Gerald and his group did a great job blending the newer sounds with the soulful music of the past, keeping their emotional depth while using the modern production styles. This made their music appeal to more people and earned them respect from other musicians. Besides singing, Gerald was also a songwriter and producer. He played an active role in writing and producing many of Levert's songs, just like his father taught him. This control over his music allowed him to shape the group's sound in his own way. But Gerald didn't stop there. He also started working with other artists, writing and producing songs for them too. While Levert was still doing well, Gerald had bigger dreams of going solo. He wanted to explore his personal feelings and creative ideas more freely. In 1991, Gerald released his first solo album, Private Line. The album was a huge success and marked a new chapter in his career. Gerald's solo work took his music to new heights, and he continued to build on his success in the years that followed. One of the best tracks on his debut album was Baby Hold On to Me. This song was extra special because it was a duet with his father, Gerald Levert. The song not only topped the R&B charts, but it also showed how close Gerald and his father were. Eddie was proud to work with his son, and the song became a favorite for both of them. Fans loved it too, because the lyrics were heartfelt, and the way Gerald and his father sang it made everyone feel the love between them. It was a song that really connected with people. Gerald's first album, Private Line, was full of songs about love, relationships, and being vulnerable. These themes became a big part of his music throughout his career. The success of this album showed that Gerald was a big talent in the music world, and it helped him start his solo career. He would go on to release many more hits in the years that followed. His second album, Groove On, came out in 1994 and was another success. This album mixed slow, emotional ballads with upbeat, groovy tracks. One of the biggest hits was I'd Give Anything, which showed off Gerald's powerful voice and his ability to express deep feelings. Groove On also combined modern R&B sounds with classic soul influences, making it a hit with fans of all ages. By the late 1990s, Gerald had firmly established himself as a solo artist with a unique sound. In 1998, he released Love and Consequences, an album that showed how much he had grown as both a person and an artist. This album had more introspective songs about responsibility, love, and heartbreak. The hit song from the album, Thinking About It, was a big success, reaching number 1 on the R&B charts. Gerald's style of combining smooth grooves with honest, emotional lyrics became his signature sound. Gerald's career continued to thrive in the late 1990s and early 2000s. In 1999, he released an album simply called G, which was both a commercial and critical success. The album featured the song Taking Everything, which dealt with love and the pain of breakups. In 2002, Gerald released another album called The G-Spot, which continued his success in the music world.
Mom and Dad were like, oh, you can't go out with a musician. You know, they just weren't into the music situation.
Gerald's personal life was full of ups and downs. He had several relationships, and one of his most well-known was with actress and comedian Kim Whitley. They grew up near each other and started as friends before dating. However, their relationship became complicated when Kim moved to Hollywood to pursue her career. This led to them breaking up, though they remained close friends. She recently opened up about her relationship with the late R&B singer. Kim started by explaining that her relationship with Gerald was very special to her. She said that Gerald was her first true love, describing him as a charming Casanova who won her over. The two had known each other since they were kids, living in the same neighborhood and going to the same high school. They were close for years, and despite the ups and downs, their bond never truly faded.
Gerald Levert was my first true love. It was at Casanova. He got me with that. Okay.
However, Kim's parents didn't approve of her being with a musician. She said her mom and dad were not happy about the idea of her dating someone in the music industry. They thought musicians led unpredictable lives and didn't fit into their family's plan for her. On the other hand, Gerald's family was all about music, and that's where they were different. Even though her parents didn't support the relationship, Kim and Gerald stayed close, always remaining friends.
But we remained friends and hung out for many.
As they grew older, their connection became even stronger. Kim shared that Gerald once told her, "You can go to Hollywood and pursue your career, but if you want to be with me, there can only be one star in this family." This was a huge decision for Kim, but it also showed how serious Gerald was about their future together.
Because when we were younger, Gerald told me one thing, and he said, "You can go out to Hollywood and you can pursue your career, but if you want to be with me, I'm gonna let you know, there can only be one star in this family."
Despite their deep love for each other, Kim and Gerald never got married, and she explained why. Tragically, Gerald passed away before they could tie the knot. Kim made it clear that had Gerald lived, they definitely would have gotten married. They had even made a promise to each other that when they turned 50, if neither of them was married by then, they would get married. It was a pact that showed how committed they were to each other. Kim also talked about the time when Gerald was dating other women. She admitted that she was jealous sometimes, especially when she saw him with other women. However, she didn't let it ruin their friendship. Kim understood that they both lived their own lives, and she couldn't control who Gerald dated. It wasn't always easy, but she had to accept it. One interesting moment Kim shared was when the actress and comedian Monique came to her about dating Gerald. She explained that Monique was very mature, even when she was younger. Monique came to Kim and asked for her blessing before dating Gerald. Kim said she had never experienced anything like that before. Monique's respectful approach left a strong impression on Kim, who gave her blessing, though she did wonder if she had made the right choice. While their relationship didn't end the way Kim hoped, the bond they shared was undeniable. Gerald's passing left Kim heartbroken, but she holds on to the beautiful memories of their time together.
You said your dad passed away when you were 60. I'm so sorry about that, but how did his passing impact you?
Devastating. That was my best friend, so
Yeah.
that was my guy.
Sadly, Gerald passed away in 2006 at the age of 40. At first, people thought he died of a heart attack. However, an autopsy later showed that the cause of his death was different. The official cause was an accidental overdose from a mix of prescription drugs and over-the-counter medications. Gerald had been dealing with chronic pain for some time. He had a shoulder injury and had surgery in 2005 to fix a torn Achilles tendon. To manage his pain, he was taking several prescription medications. These included painkillers like Vicodin, Percocet, and Darvocet. He was also taking Xanax to help with anxiety and stress. On top of these, he was using over-the-counter antihistamines to help with allergies or other health issues. The combination of these drugs in his body became too much for his system to handle. The autopsy revealed that he also had pneumonia, which could have made things worse for him. The coroner said that the mixture of the pain medications, the anxiety medication, and the antihistamines caused his body to go into acute intoxication, leading to his death. It was ruled as an accidental death, meaning it wasn't something he planned, but rather the result of the medications he was taking to manage his pain and anxiety. Gerald Levert's family spoke about how he had been struggling with pain for years. The pain from his shoulder injury and the Achilles tendon surgery had been difficult to live with. His doctors had prescribed him medications to help manage that pain, but even though these medications were prescribed to him, using them together, along with other drugs, caused his body to react in a way that led to his untimely death. The loss of Gerald Levert was a sad moment for his family, friends, and fans.
day, honestly, because everybody knew before me.
Really?
Yeah, it was on BT, and like I woke up late, and like there was no school that day for some reason, and the phone just kept ringing, and I didn't know what was going on, and
After Gerald Levert passed away, Eddie Levert, Gerald's father, was devastated. Gerald died from an accidental overdose of prescription and over-the-counter medications, and it was hard for Eddie to understand why it had to happen. But as if that loss wasn't enough, just 14 months later, Eddie faced another heart-wrenching blow. His other son, Shawn Levert, also passed away. Shawn died in 2008 while in police custody after suffering withdrawal symptoms from an anxiety medication called Xanax. This was a tough time for Eddie and his ex-wife, Martha, who was the mother of both Gerald and Shawn. People who cared about Eddie were deeply concerned about how he would handle losing both of his sons so suddenly. In interviews years later, Eddie opened up about how he has been coping with the deaths of Gerald and Shawn. He admitted that he still struggles to understand why they are gone, and it hurts him deeply. Eddie said, "If it wasn't supposed to be, it wouldn't have happened. I wish I could tell you that I had a sense of why, but I don't." He still wonders if something he did might have led to their tragic ends. Even though he feels the pain, Eddie tries not to dwell on it too much because, as he said, it happened. "I can't get caught up in the fact that it wasn't supposed to be like this." Through the grief, Eddie has leaned on his faith. He found strength in reading the Bible, especially the book of Job, which tells the story of a man who lost everything but still had faith in God. Eddie acknowledged that while he lost 2 sons, he didn't lose everything. He still had his life, and his faith helped him keep going. Eddie shared that sometimes he would cry like a baby, and he still has those moments. But he believes that God is giving him the strength to carry on. Another source of comfort for Eddie has been music. He and his sons shared a passion for music, and the memories of performing together bring him some peace. Eddie remembers the special moments on stage with Gerald and Shawn, performing their hit songs like Casanova and Baby Hold On To Me. For him, those were some of the best moments of his life. Even now, when he performs those songs on his own, he says it helps him heal. While he is on stage, he is able to forget about the pain in his body and the heartache in his heart. It's as if the music takes his mind off everything, and for a short time, he doesn't think about the sorrow he feels. As much as Eddie has found ways to cope, he also admitted that he has regrets about his role as a father. He mentioned that when his sons died, he couldn't help but blame himself. He felt there were things he could have protected them from, things they might have seen in his own life that could have influenced them negatively. He wished he had done more to shield them from the tough parts of his career and lifestyle. Eddie also talked about how, back in the day, he would take his sons on the road with him while his wife had time to focus on her ministry. He knew he wasn't the perfect man, and he admitted he made mistakes as a father. Looking back, he calls himself a rotten man because he didn't know better at the time. He was young and hadn't learned the lessons he needed to be the kind of father he wanted to be. Though Eddie's heart is heavy with loss and regret, he has also gained wisdom from his experiences. The deaths of his sons have taught him important life lessons. He wishes he could have done things differently for them, but he knows that their memory and the lessons he has learned will stay with him forever. Despite the pain, Eddie continues to move forward, doing his best to honor his sons' memories and to live a life that reflects the wisdom he has gained through his struggles. Gerald Levert made a huge impact on the genre, both as part of the group Levert and as a solo artist. In the early 2000s, Gerald continued to shine in his solo career. His 2004 album, Do I Speak for the World, was one of his most important works. It didn't just talk about love, like many of his other songs. It also addressed serious topics like inequality and injustice. Even though the album was about tough issues, Gerald managed to keep the soulful sound his fans loved. Some of the most well-known songs from that album were Crucify Me, Greater Later, and What Happened to the Love. These songs showed how Gerald could speak on important social problems while still keeping his music deep and respectful. In 2007, a year after his death, Gerald's final album, In My Songs, was released. It won a Grammy for Best Traditional R&B Vocal Performance, which showed just how important he was to the music world. The album was a powerful tribute to his career, full of the emotional depth and incredible voice that made him so special. Even though Gerald was no longer around, his music continued to live on, reminding people of his talent. Gerald also had a short but memorable acting career. In the late 1990s, he appeared on The Jamie Foxx Show in 2 episodes. He played a character named Charles Young, who falls in love with Jamie's mother and eventually gets married. Gerald's charm and humor made him a natural fit for TV roles, and this small role marked the start of his acting career. He also appeared in a documentary about the Funk Brothers, the musicians behind many Motown hits. In the film Standing in the Shadows of Motown, 2002, Gerald paid tribute to these musical legends by performing live renditions of classic Motown songs. Another acting role Gerald had was on the TV show The Parkers, where he played a character named Thad Radcliffe. He appeared in an episode where his character came to visit his son and form a band with him. Gerald's acting career was not as big as his music career, but it showed his versatility as an entertainer. Gerald's legacy is seen in the many songs he wrote and the way he helped shape R&B music in the 90s. His fans remember him for his powerful performances and his ability to express love and emotion through his songs. Gerald's family, including his son, continue to honor his memory, keeping his music alive and inspiring new generations.